Hello. Um, Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be asked to be here today, and it's a blessing to be in your presence. My name is Ali Reza Sashar Zarif Ravanbakhsh Tabriznia. It's spelled ALIREZASASHAR and the rest. I have 9 A's in my name, and I like all of them. I am a former client of UNHCR. I was in the refugee camp in Turkey for 3.5 years when I was a teenager. But I would like to start my talk with a Kyrgyz proverb that says, "Akan suda aram yok," means there is no impurity in running water. I think that life is like a running water. It's coming from somewhere, it's going somewhere, and it's always on the move in the present. And I like to be part of this movement, and I like to be present in the movement at this moment. And something else that's very interesting, I'm going to improvise here, is that I have an experience of being stateless for about 6.5 years in my life. Because when I was in Turkey and I refuged to UNHCR as a refugee, for 6.5 years after that, whenever it came to nationality in my documents, it said stateless. And then finally, I came to Canada in 1988, and in 1992, I became a Canadian citizen. I am a child of revolution, war, prison, torture, escape, and refugee camps. But I'm also an adult, and I transitioned to adulthood in Canada. When I arrived to Canada, it was October 25th in 1988. I arrived at a reception center at Yonge and Sheppard. And there used to be a Miracle Mart there. And as soon as I arrived, I asked them if there is a payphone so I can call my mother and tell her that I'm fine. My mother was in Iran and very worried. So I found the phone and I called my mother. So as soon as she said hello, I start crying, and she tried to comfort me. And she said that be very excited for all the new friends you're going to make and the new life that you have a chance to build. She also said that remember that life is like a river. And remember to swim with this river, because if you stop swimming, you're going to drown. I think that piece of advice made me take responsibility in the new environment that I was in, to swim with life, the new life I was a part of. But something a little more on the side is that in the end of that conversation, my mother told me that if you can buy some snack and go back to your room and turn on the TV and start watching TV and learn about the culture right away. Don't wait for tomorrow. So I did. I bought some snack and I went to my room. I turned on the TV and the TV had "Don't Worry, Be Happy." You remember that song? That was on like every 5 minutes. So I started having the chips. Was good. Was like the chips I was used to. It's not, Canada is good. The cheese puffs, great. The biscuits were not good. The biscuits were horrible, and I was terrified because I thought I can never get used to Canadian biscuit. And there was a knock at the door, and a gentleman was at the door, an Iranian. He spoke my language, so I hugged him right away. And I didn't know who he is. He said, I'm a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of your mom. And they contacted me that you arrived and you're crying, and then, I have to come and rescue you. I said, well, come in till I change. And I insisted that you should have some of this snack. They're good, but don't touch the biscuit. It's horrible. So he got a bit angry and he said, can't you see the puppy's head on the box? It's a dog food. It's a dog biscuit. Well, it was cheap, cute, and it was colorful. Well, it's nice. So I said, in my defense, I said, well, back home, the milk bottles have the cow head on them, but they're not cow food, right? So how would I know? So right after that, I decided not to go to an ESL class and start my high school because I wasted 3.5 years of my life in refugee camps. So I went to the high school, Eastern High School of Commerce, at Danforth and Donlands and Danforth. And the second semester, I became a part of the school's race relation club. I could hardly speak, but I wanted to be part of something. And then the third semester, I started a club called Eastern High School of Commerce Multicultural Arts Society because I wanted to dance. So I had to kind of make it happen. So I started organizing festivals, and I was embraced. The idea was embraced. The school, the staff, the students, they were all part of it. And I felt very good. I felt at home because my home back then was a room at Pape and Danforth in a very small, dark room, and I had nobody here. So my home and my family was the school. So I was trying to think about this talk. And I'm a dancer. I improvise a lot too, and talking for me is a nightmare, but I'm trying. So this is from my memoir I wrote about 18 years ago, I found. And it's about my experience from that high school. I thank the universe for putting me in touch with Mrs. Robson, my biology teacher, who taught me that I do not have feet fingers, but I have toes. Mr. Hainula, my chemistry teacher, who was so aware of my ESL-ness and made his notes on the board colorful, simple, and accessible. Mr. Robinson, who never made me feel stupid while I was struggling to speak in English by his encouraging smile. Mrs. Mowat, my ESL teacher, who invited me to her house to have my first Christmas dinner with his family. Mrs. Khan, my art teacher, who wore her kimono to school just because I asked her to. Mr. Smith, the vice principal, who pointed out to me that what Scottish men wear is a kilt, not a skirt. Mr. Collins, our principal, who called me to his office and thanked me personally for coming to Canada and choosing Eastern Commerce as my school. Mrs. Powell, who told me about her cat food mishap to make me feel better about my dog food story. Mr. Turner, my drama teacher, for exchanging his migration stories with me. My schoolmate Tom, Glenn, Susan, Laiwan, Kim, Abdullah, Cindy, and all others, along with the lovely cafeteria ladies and their hot and hearty shepherd's pie that made me feel at home. My background with dance came from my experience with my grandmother. My grandmother was 99 years old when I remember being with her. My parents used to leave me with her in her room and go to work. This woman was a migrant woman from the Soviet Azerbaijan, back then Soviet Azerbaijan, to Iran. So he was in Tehran. There was a different language, a different place. So she had me as an audience on a little carpet. We would sit, and she would just sing and dance and tell stories about her father's home, the cypress trees, the rose garden, and the fish pool, and arch gateways opening to the inner balcony. Her sister Sharabani with her dangling earrings that keep her grounded and connected to her father's root. And so after her death, I was 10 years old. Oops. You're safe. Hold on. Oh, yeah. I inherited this from her. This is her drum. This is the same drum she sang and told me stories and taught me how to sing and dance. I'm not going to cry, I'm a man. Okay. I cried a lot before I come here. So this drum has been with me since, this is the only thing that has been with me since I left Iran. Oh. Sorry, one moment. Okay, so I sang with this drum in so, God, let the drum go. Anyways, I sang with this drum in so many rooms that I lived in alone. But today, I'm an artist. I'm a Canadian artist going around the world and sharing my life with everybody else. And sorry, Rana, I'm being too emotional now. But what I want to tell you is my grandmother transformed this little room I was with her to her father's home in Baku. She took me to a place that was in her memories, not a real place, right? So when I grew up, eventually I came to a decision to leave that carpet that I was sitting with her and face the reality of the place I live in. But I used what she gave me, the dances, the skill to dance, because she was 99 years old. Thank you very much. Is it vodka? Vodka? So thank you very much. I think that she helped me to learn how to transform and how to dig into my memories in order to understand where I am. And I use the same thing. I use the dance, I use the songs, and I use the stories to revisit my memories and my experiences, and so that I can find my place in this new place that I'm in, so that I can swim with the flow. I don't have to assimilate, I don't have to acculturate, I don't have to compromise anything. But that doesn't mean I have to miss what the place I'm in right now. So this is when you negotiate your past in your present and hoping that you will have a better future. So as an artist, my journey has brought me to a place that I can realize my diversity in Toronto. And Toronto has given me that. The Eastern High School of Commerce have given me that. My Greek friends and my friends from Korea and the friends who were from here originally, and all those people have provided me with this opportunity to find myself and my place here. I just have another little part from my memoir about my who I am as an artist, and this goes 10 years ago, and I think it's interesting. Things has changed now, but it's good to. I would like to share this with you. My art is my artistic practice is a pilgrimage into my memories, dreams, and hopes, and what lies beneath them and echoes above them. Through recollecting, reviewing, re-examining, studying, and remembering my memories, I have been trying to understand where I am coming from. I have been doing this in order to understand myself and my place in Toronto and in the world. I realized that through this process, I have been mobilizing my memories. And at this stage, these moving memories are more than just a collection of things remembered from the past or biological memories of my forebears stored in my body or the enigmatic traces of others. They are part of my present, which constitutes some of the fundamental pillars or molding cast of cultures and traditions I'm a part of or identify with. This is from one of my grant applications to Canada Council for the Arts. But, you know, I have a very good relation with Canada Council, Ontario Art Council, and Toronto Art Council, and I think that's because I write very, you know, I just write whatever comes to my mind. And I'm a little kind of dramatic and poetic, and it sells. But, and also, I share with them my process. And I think that it's valuable for us to share our process, but it's more valuable for us to have a process, to be able to be part of this flow and to contribute to this flow. To conclude, I would like to share with you another anecdote. A few years ago, a friend of mine made a documentary film about me going back to Baku to find my grandmother's father's home with the cypress trees and rose gardens and all. So I didn't find it, but but the movie was being premiered here in Toronto, and I took him to a supermarket to buy some fruits on the way. As I was picking the apples, he pointed out to me that the apples I'm taking are not good apples. You know, they all kind of they're not red enough, or they're not big enough, or they're like kind of crooked. And I told him I do that on purpose, because I don't think it's the apple's fault that it's ripened too fast, or it's different. Because it reminds me of when I was in Turkey in the refugee camp, and the committees from different countries would come to pick us up, like, you know, choose who they take. And we will all stand there and try to kind of look good, and so they take us. And whenever I go pick apples, it just, that's what it reminds me of. I see myself right there, and I want to pick myself up and give myself an opportunity, because that apple is an apple, and it serves something. And so I hope that we all in life give ourselves the opportunity, and give each other the opportunity to be an apple, just an apple. Thank you.